A 40-pound Maine Coon found starving on a winter street, 11 pounds of bones and ruined coat. Two families returned him, one shelter called him too far gone, and then a grieving widow spent $847 she wasn't sure she should spend. And on night 9, inside a silent house, everything changed. Nobody wanted Phoenix, not the first family who found him and kept him for 6 weeks before deciding he was too demanding, not the second family who returned him after 4 days without explanation, without eye contact, without the $52 bag of food they had taken with him, not the Maplewood Rescue Center, which had listed him as difficult to place for 94 days and quietly stopped putting his photo on the adoption page. They were all wrong. Margaret Holloway was 54 years old and had $23,400 left in a savings account she hadn't touched since her husband died, not because she was careful with money, because spending it felt like moving forward, and moving forward felt like a thing she hadn't earned yet. Thomas had been gone for 11 months. Cardiac arrest on a Tuesday morning in January. Coffee still warm in his mug, the newspaper still folded on the kitchen counter exactly where he had left it. She had not moved that newspaper. Not once. Not in 11 months. She had a pension that covered the bills, a daughter in Portland, Claire, who called every Sunday at 7 p.m. and stayed on the phone for exactly 42 minutes, the way you do when you love someone but don't know what to say to them. A garden that had gone to weeds, a spare bedroom with the door kept shut, and a silence that had settled into the house the way cold settles into a room when the heat goes off, slowly, completely, until you stop noticing it and start assuming it was always this way. She was not looking for a cat. It was a Thursday evening in late November when her neighbor Carol knocked on the front door, already talking before Margaret opened it all the way. "There's a cat on Birchwood Avenue behind the pharmacy. He's been there for 3 days. No collar, no chip, nobody's claimed him. You have to come see this, Margaret. You have to." Margaret didn't want to go. She put on her coat anyway. What she found on Birchwood Avenue she would not forget for the rest of her life. He was pressed against a heating vent in the narrow gap between the pharmacy wall and a dumpster. Maine Coon, unmistakably, even in this condition. The bone structure was still there, the tufted ears, the enormous, ruined frame that even at 11 pounds, you could see was built for something entirely different than a concrete alley in November. His coat was matted and broken. His ribs moved visibly with each breath. His eyes were half closed, and his face had the particular stillness of an animal that has stopped hoping that the next person to walk by will be different from the last one. He weighed 11 pounds, a male Maine Coon who should have weighed 4 times that. Margaret sat down on the cold ground beside him. She didn't reach for him, just sat, back against the pharmacy wall, in the dark, next to a cat who had given up. 2 minutes passed, then 3. Then he turned his head and looked at her. Not a plea, not a performance, just a long, level look that said, "I know how this goes. I've seen this before." She picked him up anyway. The emergency vet visit that night cost $312. Blood panels, fluids, and initial examination by a veterinarian named Dr. Chen, who had been practicing for 19 years and did not believe in softening bad news. She's severely malnourished, compromised immune response, dehydration that's been building for weeks, not days. She set down the chart. "I want you to understand, cats this far down don't always recover. Some of them have been without proper nutrition for so long that the damage is structural. We'll know more in 48 hours. Margaret asked what 48 hours of care would cost. Dr. Chen said $480 minimum, depending on what the panels showed. Margaret said, "Run everything." She named him Phoenix on the drive home. It felt like the only name that made any sense. She stopped at the 24-hour pharmacy on the way and spent $67 on the specific high-calorie recovery formula Dr. Chen had written on a slip of paper. She stood in the pet food aisle for 4 minutes, doing the math in her head. The $23,400 in the savings account, the $312 from tonight, the $480 over the next 2 days, the $67 for food, the ongoing costs Dr. Chen had mentioned, specialized nutrition, follow-up panels, possible additional treatment depending on what the blood work showed. She had spent $859 in one evening on a cat she had known for 3 hours. She bought 2 bags of the food, $134 total. She did not feel like she had made a mistake. The first week was not a transformation. Nobody tells you that part. The first week was a cat who hid behind the washing machine for 22 hours a day and only emerged when the house had been completely silent for at least 40 minutes. Margaret learned to not approach him. She would set the food down, the recovery formula, $34 per bag refilled every 4 days, and step back and leave the room entirely. Every morning the bowl was empty. Every morning Phoenix was behind the washing machine before she came downstairs. She talked to him anyway, sitting on the laundry room floor with her back against the wall, not looking toward the washing machine, just talking about the garden, about Claire's Sunday calls, about Thomas, about the newspaper on the kitchen counter. She still hadn't moved. On the 4th day, she brought a book and read out loud for 38 minutes. She did not look toward the washing machine once. On the 5th day, something moved in the darkness behind it. She turned a page and kept reading. If you're still here and haven't subscribed yet, honestly, that stings a little. Hit subscribe. I promise you, you want to be here for what comes next. By day 7, Phoenix was eating while she was still in the room, as long as she kept her back turned. 11 pounds of survival instinct, slowly recalculating something it had learned to stop believing, that stillness from a person might mean safety rather than indifference before abandonment. Here is something most people don't know about Maine Coons. They are not aloof by nature. The stereotype of the cold, self-sufficient cat does not apply to them. Maine Coons are, by every behavioral measure, among the most socially oriented domestic cats that exist. They form attachments slowly and completely, with a loyalty that can become, frankly, inconvenient. What looks like distance in the early weeks is almost always evaluation. They are reading you, running a calculation that has been burned into them by whatever happened before you. Is this person worth the cost of caring about them? Phoenix had been through that calculation twice before and been proven wrong twice. The family in Clarkson who surrendered him after 6 weeks, the family who returned him after 4 days, the shelter intake form from that second return which Margaret read standing in Dr. Chen's office and had to set down before she finished. He sat at the door for 3 hours after they left. Wouldn't move, wouldn't eat, just sat watching the door. Margaret put the folder down and looked out the window for a long time. The follow-up vet appointment at the 2-week mark cost $190. Phoenix had gained 1.8 pounds. Dr. Chen called it a strong early response. She adjusted the feeding protocol, a new formula, slightly higher caloric density, $41 per bag, a meaningful reduction, and scheduled a follow-up for 1 month out. Margaret drove home and transferred $1,400 from savings to checking, not the full $23,400, just enough to cover the next 3 months without thinking about it each time. On night 9, she woke at 2:47 in the morning. There was a weight at the foot of her bed. Not a sound before it, no warning, just the slow, deliberate settling of something large and warm pressing down against the blanket over her feet. Then the purring began. Low and resonant, filling the room the way a cello fills a room. From the floor up, from every surface at once, a sound so complete it seemed impossible that the room had ever been without it. Margaret did not move, did not turn on the light, did not say a word. She lay in the dark and listened to the silence of 11 months be replaced all at once and without ceremony by the sound of 40 pounds of Maine Coon deciding she was worth the risk. She cried. Quietly, the way you cry when something you had stopped expecting finally arrives. That was the beginning of what actually happened. By month 2, Phoenix weighed 22 pounds and had eaten through $380 worth of recovery formula. By month 4, he was at 31 pounds, and Dr. Chen had cleared him for standard high-protein maintenance food, $28 per bag, a meaningful reduction. By month 8, the 6-month checkup showed a weight of 40 pounds and a coat that Dr. Chen ran her hand along twice before saying anything. I've been doing this for 19 years. I don't see recoveries like this. Whatever you're doing, keep doing it. Total veterinary costs over 8 months, $2,847. Total food costs, $634. Margaret had spent $3,481 on a cat the world had called too far gone. 40 pounds, a chest like a barrel, a tail that Margaret's daughter Claire on her first visit described as genuinely alarming, amber eyes that tracked every movement in a room with the unhurried authority of someone who understood that they had earned their place here and was not going to pretend otherwise. He had a routine.
Every morning at 6:20, he walked to the kitchen and sat directly in front of the counter where Margaret made her coffee and watched her with the focused patience of a supervisor reviewing work that has been done adequately but not brilliantly. He had a sound for when she moved too slowly, not a meow, more of a low, rolling trill, a sound that communicated, "We have discussed the timeline." When Claire visited and left at 9 in the evening, Phoenix walked her to the door and sat watching it for 11 minutes after it closed. Not 10, not 12, 11 minutes every visit, without variation. Some stories deserve to be shared with the people who need them most. The newspaper was still on the counter. Margaret had not moved it in 11 months. On a Tuesday morning in March, a Tuesday, the same day of the week she had lost Thomas, Margaret came downstairs and found Phoenix sitting on the kitchen counter, directly on top of the newspaper, amber eyes on her face, tail wrapped around his feet, completely settled, as if this arrangement had been in place for years and the newspaper had always belonged to him. Margaret stood in the doorway for a long time. Then she walked to the counter, picked up Phoenix, held his enormous, warm, 40-pound body against her chest for a moment, set him down on the floor, picked up the newspaper, folded it, and put it in the recycling bin. It was, she said later, the first thing she had done in 11 months that felt like it belonged to the future rather than the past. Today, Phoenix is 3 years old. He weighs 40 pounds and has strong opinions about furniture ownership, which is, all of it is his. He has claimed Thomas's glasses as a personal possession and carries them from room to room with the serene confidence of someone who concluded that inheritance law is a matter of perspective. The spare bedroom door is open now. The garden is growing again. Claire's Sunday calls have gone from 42 minutes to sometimes over an hour. The two families who returned him, the shelter that stopped posting his photo, the strangers who walked past a heating vent on Birchwood Avenue for 3 days. They missed this. All of it. If you are thinking about adopting, understand that they are not broken things waiting to be repaired. They are not puzzles. They are beings with their own pace of trust, their own way of choosing you back once they decide the risk is worth taking. Do your research. Understand what they need. Be the kind of person who sits on a laundry room floor and reads out loud to a gap behind a washing machine without expecting anything back. Because Margaret did not rescue Phoenix. Phoenix, on a Tuesday morning in March, sitting on a newspaper that had waited 11 months to be moved, rescued her. Is this love, or did he know something about her before she knew it herself? Tell me in the comments.